Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. I'm your host, Patsun, and today we're going to be taking a look at r/divorce. But it will be slightly different than my past videos. This one will be a compilation of short stories where karma finally delivers sweet, sweet justice. Let's begin. Redditors, when did karma finally hit your cheating ex?
Story 1. I have one for this. So my ex-wife hooked up with her brother's best man while I was in the same area while staying at her mom's house. Long story short, on the day of our separation, I go to my parents' house. She was going to stay in our house that night. I come home the next day and she's not there, but the car I pay for is. So I figured out where she is and demand a divorce on the spot. A few days later, she informs me that the dude went back to his ex-girlfriend and ghosted her. I won't lie, I laughed in her face. Story 2. My wife didn't cheat per se. We had already split up, and when our divorce was done, she had to move out my house. I had to move out of my house for the sake of keeping the peace for the kids, so instead of moving out, she moved her boyfriend in. I tried to be nice about it, give her time to move her sorry ass out, but she wasn't going to go anytime soon. As part of the divorce, the only money she got out of me was half of my 401k, nothing else. She refused to work. After 3 months of this, her making promises to move and not doing anything, I had to threaten them both with a legal eviction. They moved out 2 weeks later. The next year they got married. She still wasn't working. They were both just living off of the 401k settlement money. And after 6 months of wedded bliss, all of the money was gone and he left her the next year and filed for divorce. Story 3. I managed to get into my ex-wife's Facebook, long story, where I found messages of her being rejected by her affair partner after I left her. For context, her story to all our friends and family was that she had almost cheated on me, but she thought of my face and couldn't go through with it. Truth was that she had made out with him and given him oral, then he decided he didn't want to be in a relationship with her, and she lost us both. Enormously satisfying. Story 4. X's AP was met at the airport after being treated to a ride in an NS vehicle to the airport to be deported. While he was dealing with the authorities, I called his wife. Through an interpreter, I told her how her husband had an affair with my now ex. She was grateful, and I gave her my info so she could contact me. A few days after I told her, she told me that her now ex is in the hospital and will likely be permanently disabled. I told her that whenever she gets to my country or I get to hers, we should have dinner. We did about a year later. She was a cute girl. We made it our business to let her ex know that I had slept with her. He cursed me a few times. However, he had already experienced his karmic justice. We were adding insult to injury. My ex found out a few months later and had the nerve to say I should take her back as I had destroyed her life and her AP's life. Nope. Story 5. Oh yeah, my first ex-wife cheated, tried to take my kid to another country where this dude lives, and I was able to stop it, then win custody. After I won custody, she disappeared on both me and our kid, never called, sent presents, paid child support, etc. A few years later, she pops out a kid for him, and then he dumps her, leaving her and 2 kids. She had a kid before me, stranded in another country. Of course, she calls me to express regrets and apologize before asking if I could help her. I simply said no, but I wished her a good life, then hung up. Story 6. Got herself a better man, taller, more muscles, made more money than me, type A guy, but I'm too laid back. Because of that, she didn't really ask for half of what she could have in the divorce. I kept the house. She didn't touch my retirement or investments. She could have. Just got child support and one of our cars. Very condescending to me and talked about being friends when everything settled down. Moved into a big house with the AP, got a new car, living her best life. About 1 month after the divorce was final, her perfect man took off to Boston, alone. When she became eligible to marry, he decided he didn't want any part of a 32-year-old woman with 2 kids. She had to leave her big house and move into a 2-bedroom apartment. I, on the other hand, did a lot of work on my house, got to spend a lot of time with my kids, developed lifelong friendships, remarried to a woman, 22 years and counting. I think I did pretty well. Before you ask, no, we aren't friends now. Story 7. My ex cheated the week the world shut down from COVID. She was laid off as a housekeeper at the hospital due to her blood clots and lung issues. Out of work from March to October, goes back and immediately gets COVID. Loses job at hospital. She then goes on to work at her son's school as a lunch lady and is the sole breadwinner, as her AP claimed he couldn't work due to the shoulder injury I had given him in our confrontation. Now he works at one of the many auto parts stores, and she gets paid by the government to watch her adult son, who has special needs. They've gotten 2 pit bulls that they're planning on breeding for money. They're the grossest people I know, and I can't believe I loved one of them for 16 years. Story 8. Caught my first wife in my bed with her AP 43 years ago. I filed for divorce 2 days later. I have not said a word to her since the day I found them. 20 years later, my colleague was talking about his wife, a hairdresser, talking about this woman who was having to give the father-in-law blowjob so her and deadbeat now husband could stay in the father-in-law's basement. Turns out it was my ex. And to be honest, it was nice to feel indifferent about it. Story 9. Kind of old. We divorced 25 years ago. She left me for a married ex-con. He dumped her after getting her on crystals. I saw a picture of her about 5 years ago. She looked easily 10 years older than her age with perfect teeth. Crystals took her real teeth. Despite being the cheater, she always blamed me for everything. Despite me taking the kids and raising them without child support, until some criminal activity happened, she acted like I was horrible. Now she's acting like God saved her and whines to everyone about how horrible her life turned out and that she never had a chance. I'm not rich, but my life is, and I'm just human enough to smile at how pathetic she truly is. How she looked down on me when she was cheating. Ironic. Story 10. This is an old story about 17 years ago, and not really very evident karma, but here goes. 17 to 18 years ago, I was 23, she was 22, 3.5-year relationship, fiancé for 6 months. 3 months before the wedding, I find out she has been cheating for 2 to 3 months with my best friend. I went nuclear. Shit happened. As a direct result, former best friend was in the hospital for 3 weeks with a lot of broken bones. His dad, former cop, went to prison for corruption. We were like brothers. I knew everything about his family. My ex's family broke up, and her dad disappeared. I had video evidence of her mother cheating that I was sitting on for her sake. They, best friend and ex, were ostracized by most of our friends and became so well known in our city, they had to move. I went off the reservation and started a 1-year-long drinking binge and slept with every woman I could find, around 60 in 1 year. I got better and moved on with my life. Never spoke to them since then. And here is the karma. I didn't initiate until now was my revenge on them. About 1 year ago, I met an old friend who keeps in touch with her. After me, she dated a Turkish guy for money. He ended up beating her daily and putting her in the hospital a few times. After that, she dated a little and then found another rich Turkish guy and married him for the money. He beats the shit out of her, and she is in the hospital regularly, but now they have kids and she is scared to leave him, so she puts up with the beating. In a way, I feel sorry for her. Then I remember what they did to me in those 3 months. Really horrible stuff that almost ended me in the hospital thinking I was going insane, and that feeling goes away really fast. That's my karma story. Have a good weekend, everyone. Story 11. You know, my ex isn't a bad person, but what she did to me has me thinking she wasn't exactly a good person either. My story isn't as major as others because I only know she emotionally cheated and kissed a guy, and I don't care to know more at this point. I just assume the worst even though it hasn't and won't be said. In other words, I'll never know, but I can guess if wanted. It was funny, when I confronted her about this guy, she said, "Now I don't have him or you," as if that was supposed to make it better. She didn't even tell me she kissed him the first time I asked. I had to drag the answer out of her, so she trickle-truthed me. Anyway, she can't have Friday nights because she has to wake up and work an 8 to 5 on Saturdays, so her only day off is Sunday. She wouldn't have had to do that if she was honest with herself and myself and figured out why she needs attention from more than one person. If she just did that, which didn't cost any money by the way, she could have been sleeping in on Saturday mornings and enjoying Friday nights with me while I go to work for us. Pretty soon I would have graduated college and helped her to find a job where we both could have been making money and saving for our family's future. Even though she says she wanted to get married to me, she now has basically no other option but to either do the hard work and heal the right way for her and for the next guy, or just try to take the easy way out and wait for a guy that's attractive enough and rich enough to be her retirement plan. I told her she's 31, not 21. Her looks are fading every day, and her mom that she lives with is getting older. I don't think she understands that dating in her 30s is much harder than her 20s, and many men have baggage, are undesirable anyway, or they will lie and say or do whatever they need to do just to have sex. That's the world she's living in now, because she simply couldn't be loyal. Her mom, while sweet, is overweight due to a thyroid issue, and her father is rarely involved because he left the family when my ex was young for another woman. Her cousins, for the most part, enabled her to talk to other guys while we were trying to fix our relationship in the hopes it would lead to an engagement, marriage, and a wedding. I don't think my ex realizes she's lucky to have a family member she can run back to and that she won't be enabled forever. I'm not saying I wish harm to her, but I don't think she understands what she did quite yet. She could find someone better than me, which is fine because I want to improve myself anyway, but she could also find someone worse than me too, and I never hit her, stole from her, cheated on her, or anything like that. Time is a resource she doesn't have much of. I hope she does the hard work to heal and improve instead of looking for a guy to bail her out.
Viewer support is the best way for me to remain independent and continue bringing you these daily videos, which will always be here on my channels for you to watch absolutely free. So please consider subscribing to me on Rumble and on YouTube. Both will be linked in the description box down below. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you even somewhat enjoyed today's story, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and if you really like it, consider subscribing to PattSun to never miss a future upload. Stay strong.